what's good, you guys? My name is Harsh, and this is the ninth episode of the Visionaries podcast. So, today we have a very good friend of mine, Digvijay Chakravarti, on the podcast to discuss about the new education policy. So, firstly, welcome, Digvijay.
Hello, hi guys. It's amazing to be here.
Yeah,
Harsh
and
and I have known each other since I think since before high school, and so it's I've been following his channel for a while, and it's pretty amazing. So it's
thank
pretty awesome to be
you.
here.
Thank you. So, subscribe to the channel. That's a subtle plug. I told him beforehand to talk about my channel. So, acha, secondly, who is he to talk about the topic? Education policy. मतलब कौन है? These are like we are like what? 18 year old. Why are 18-year-old talking about education policies? So I would like to tell you all that Digvijay scored 96.5% in his 10th, 95% in his boards, in his class 12 boards. He's in one of the best engineering colleges, that is BITS Pilani, and he was the best. He was the most talented debater in our school, and you were also the president, right, of the debate club.
Yeah, a bunch of us ran the debate club in class 12, so yeah, we were all there.
Yeah,
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, so basically, if you are showing this to your parents, then the society will accept him in the podcast because he knows quite a bit about the education policy. He has written many columns about it also. So, firstly, Digvijay, how
Before
did it?
anything, the most important reason why I wanted to be here was because just like most people, मेरे को भी ऐसे पकड़ के बिठवा दिया engineering में. I have been through the same system as most of you all are going through right now or have gone through. So yeah,
yeah,
I've been there.
ठीक है, कोई
So
दिक्कत नहीं
people are there in every school.
Yeah, for sure. So, you told that you have been through that same old system. We all have been, like, I think majority of the people who are watching this podcast, they have been through that old system. So, what do you think that why was the old system so criticized by the public?
Okay, so I think if I should list reasons, I'd list two very specific reasons. One was I think the compartmentalization of science, arts, and commerce into three different streams, which are so rigid. Like you could not have somebody who was studying computer science along with somebody who was studying philosophy because
hmm,
these two subjects were so different that the board would tell you, hey, you know what, you are studying science, focus on PCM and computer science. Do not try to go out into the field and see if you like philosophy because hey, you don't have the choice. So this rigid structure of differentiating educational streams was very harmful. It not only made people feel that they do not want to know anything about the rest of the world because competitive exams wanting to score in
yeah,
boards would not leave them with enough time to pursue things outside the school curriculum. As a result, they would feel कि चलो ठीक है कुछ नहीं पता इसके बाहर तो क्या ठीक है चलता है. And this feeling was
वही
even more between science students because traditionally they would go into the more lucrative streams of engineering, medicine, etc. So they would feel sort of entitled to not know more about anything beyond
hmm,
science. That later on
yeah,
did harm a lot of people in the future because a lot of engineers go out with their BTech degrees but are not
yeah,
employable because they lack a lot of basic skills which are included and which are necessary for
yeah.
people to know in the
There
country.
are even surveys about that like 60% of the people who are engineers don't get jobs and all that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty true. That's pretty true. A lot of engineers aren't employable because they just go and learn hardcore technical skills, and as a result, a lot of employers don't want to pick them up. That's one
Right.
reason why I think the old system was bad. Another reason I think, if I could list one more reason, it would be that children started going to school and started learning at a late age. They started learning from the age of 5. Some people from 6 or
What
even
do
more.
you mean by learning exactly over here?
I think learning does not just start when you go into class one and have your first textbooks to learn from. I think kids grow very early, and a lot of I am nobody to comment on this. A lot of surveys have indicated how children start learning from the age of 3. So
Hmm.
essentially, most of the learning from 3 to 5 would be at home, and therefore, children who would progress very rapidly at that age would actually miss out on some quality education at a nice school. So I think one of the
Hmm.
reasons was that children would be put into the education system a little too late. That was one more
Hmm.
drawback of the previous system. So I think those two were two major drawbacks of the previous system, and I think they are more or less addressed in the policy.
Okay, okay. But I remember you even like when we were in school. I remember you telling me that how you also wanted to take history as a subject
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
you were too keen about the past which had happened in India, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
English also. You were quite good in English. Acha,
I
acha.
like such subject. It was fun.
In English, you take that barrier also about praising teachers.
Oh yeah, I was a textbook people pleaser when it came to English class, and I'm absolutely
Yeah,
guilty of that.
Yeah, I think that the people who are from our school will get this joke.
Yes.
I
I just hope the teacher doesn't watch it because she follows you, na?
on WhatsApp.
If the teacher would watch your video, it would mean that you got a very wide subscriber base.
Thank you. Again, subscribe to the channel. Yeah. So, acha, what was your first reaction when this new policy came?
As to the first reaction, I think the very first thing I heard about the policy was the fact that they are allowing people to take up a combination of courses at a high school level and at a university level. And I think that was the first reaction that I had. I thought, wow, okay, this is really going to change the way people are taught in India. I think that initial reaction did fade away a bit after reading more into it, but more or less on the face of it, the first I thought was, okay, finally, there's a lot of change that's going to happen to the way schools and colleges treat kids. And I think that was the first reaction. Yes.
But did your reaction, like not reaction, but did your opinion change about it as the days went by? Like when you started reading more about the policy?
I think to some extent it did, and I think we can go into the details later. But the very initial reaction of how this will absolutely change the way kids are taught,
Hmm.
that sort of ecstatic change, I am not sure if that's going to happen so quickly, and I'm not sure how nicely it's going to be implemented because of two simple things. Firstly, this is not legally binding.
Wait,
It's
wait,
not a
wait.
Don't talk about the implementation now. I have like a broad question about that because I did a poll on my Instagram about this, and like most of the people who replied to that question, they were like, scheme तो बढ़िया है पर implementation करते हैं वही देखते हैं because our government uh, they have good ideas, but sometimes they lack in implementation, which leads to like a bit of failure and all that. We'll not go to the politics side
Because
No,
my
not at all.
channel
So
protest.
I think every government who runs a country as large, as diverse, and as difficult to run as India faces these problems because this is not the first education policy. Education policies have been implemented since 1968, 1986, 1992, and this was long overdue. I think there was a 30-year gap between the last
Hmm.
education policy and this one.
Yeah.
So,
So
if you were in if you were still in school, like I'm not talking about passing school, but chota tha, like if you would have been in 6, 7, 8,
something like that.
Absolutely.
what would be the subjects you would have chosen? Like
We don't have we
you would not have commerce, arts, and science like that. And I think that is after 8. After 8, you can choose. Is it something like that, or you can choose from 5 only?
I don't think you can choose from five. I think you have to choose once you enter higher classes.
Yeah. So I think if you were in 8, then what would you choose as subjects?
Okay, so given the constraint of the number of subjects that we do have, like you cannot write your board exams for all the subjects, right? So
Yeah.
I think up till 10th, I would stick to a more science-related background up till 10th. But I think in 11th and 12th, I take up a few different things. I
And
hope the teachers are not watching because I definitely dropped chemistry.
Okay. I don't think the chemistry teacher will watch it.
I think given an option, I'd like to choose a mixture of maths, uh, economics,
hmm,
history,
hmm.
English, and physics. I think
You won't go for computers.
I would go for computers, but the thing is that according to the new policy, I'll be able to learn coding from class 6 onwards.
Mhm.
So I am not
Yeah,
sure if I take up an entire new subject based on that.
true that.
Because
True.
even though the policy doesn't go into the details, I don't know how much of the syllabus will be changed. So I would not like to study the subject of computer science as much as I would like to learn how to code in different languages. And that's a very
Yeah,
layman's view from like my
yeah,
side.
yeah.
So
I feel that like 8, 9, 10, the computers which we were taught was more like theory based, and like mostly it was outdated.
it
Most of
discourages
yeah.
people from wanting to study computers.
Yeah, yeah. If you'll ask me, even though you didn't, but I'll say that the subjects which I'll choose would be I'll say maths. Um, I would go for music. I would go for digital. I want the subject to get introduced in the new education policy, which is digital marketing, because I feel that it is us beyond commerce, arts, and all that. Right now it's the age of internet, and if people are not taught about how to work on internet and how to grow on internet, then I don't think that India will still meet the meet other countries in terms of education, because internet is a big need now and not a want anymore.
Absolutely, I
So
do agree with you as to the need of the internet, and I think it's a pretty cool idea to introduce something like digital marketing to a into a
yeah,
school curriculum. I think it's one of the skills that's going to be very very necessary in the future, and it's as necessary now as well.
exactly.
So
So
tell me one positive and one negative thing you feel about the NEP.
Okay, so I will not go into the implementation of it because that's a different question.
yeah, yeah.
One great positive that I feel, I'd like to list two short positives. The first would be this allowance of allowing of sort of bringing down the barriers between science, commerce, and humanities streams, allowing kids to choose a combination of subjects so that they can learn what they want to learn and not learn something for the sake of an examination itself. Secondly, I think something that's very good is the new structure of the 5+3+3+4 system, wherein people will be allowed to join schools early, be it through an Anganwadi system or be it through setting up of small nursery institutions. I think previously the concept of pre-primary, the concept of nursery would be something that only urban schools would have. But with this
Yeah,
policy, I think people will have an incentive to set up these things in rural India as well. I think that's going to be a
yeah.
brilliant thing in the policy. So those are the two things I really love about the policy.
And the negative?
I think one slightly worrying negative that I have is again divided into two things. And I think it's because the policy sort of tries to deregulate and centralize at the same time. So one of the
Mhm.
problems that I find is there is a scope for a lot of backdoor privatization. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not here to say that privatization in itself is bad, but I think something like education, I think a state has a fundamental duty to let people use education as a tool to proceed through society.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, groups, communities who are backward, they have this option of using education as a tool because once you're educated, people can't take that away from you. So I think
Mhm.
a lot of backdoor privatization in the way the board of governance in these higher colleges will be created, and
Um,
I think there is a slight problem there because there is no way to stop
do
a
you
sort of
think?
a
Do
private.
you think?
Think this the new education policy will make the education more expensive?
So I think that is partly there because because of two reasons. A, because the composition of the board of governors in different higher institutions has been divided into three parts. A, the first one third will be the government representatives. The second third will be primary
Mhm.
funders, and there's a difference
Yeah.
between them, which probably means they're encouraging private players to sort of start funding these schools and colleges. It's a good
Mm.
thing in one way. It's also very problematic in the other, as to now there can be no official cap set by the government on fees.
Mm. Yeah.
So, I mean,
True
and the
that.
second thing is you are allowing foreign institutes to come into India, and there is no
Mm.
strict set of guidelines as to the fees because, as we know, currently foreign institutes charge a large amount of fees, which is almost disproportionate with respect to what
Mhm.
Indian institutes charge. Because a lot of Indian government colleges and institutes have been set up with not one with without the motive of getting profit. They have been set up with the
True.
motive of spreading education. That might be
Hmm.
slightly hampered with private colleges coming up, and you can see how there are a lot of smaller private colleges coming in every day. Every second college is setting up in
Yeah,
some tier two city.
exactly.
They teach dental
Exactly.
medicine. They teach management courses. There is no way to sort of certify these colleges to be good or bad, and they prey on people's insecurities.
True.
That hey, if you get a
True.
degree from here, you're going to be placed.
True.
There's no guarantee to that. So there's
True.
a lot of way for backdoor privatization in this policy, which might be problematic.
True.
That, true that. So, do you think that this NEP? Acha, before that, I would like to give a bit of context that India as a country is now is become like revolutionizing, whatever you say, that like you understood. So basically India is becoming a revolutionary country. ठीक है, मतलब बहुत जल्दी बहुत कुछ चेंज हो रहा है.
And
Absolutely.
like new things are coming in daily, and the things are getting outdated very fast. and it's
Absolutely.
go
It's good. I won't be shocked that if in the next 5 to 10 years India would be called a superpower. I won't be shocked if that would happen. I don't know if it will happen or it will not happen, but if it happens, I won't be shocked. So, do you think that this new education policy will be a major factor to for India to become a superpower?
That's a rather difficult question. I think what this policy can do is change the way we, teach kids how to learn things. So it's not only important to teach kids, it's also important to teach kids how to learn things. And
Mhm.
I think one thing that this policy does address is it's trying to sort of reduce the amount of rote learning that is already present in a lot of Indian systems, especially with the presence of a lot of smaller state boards which emphasize a lot on rote learning. The moment
Yeah.
that goes away, people start thinking critically, and people mix technical skills like engineering and software programming with liberal skills of sociology, of philosophy, and a
Mm.
more holistic understanding of these things will just create smarter people. And
Yeah.
you said India is moving very fast. That's absolutely true. Small businesses are starting everywhere. The idea that India could not be a hotbed for startups has been proven wrong. There are so many Indian startups who are unicorns now.
Hmm.
So, and India is moving
Exactly.
very fast in that regard. So I think with smarter kids, you can have these things move at an even faster pace. So I'm not really sure what a superpower would be, but India would be definitely better off if this policy is implemented well
Yeah.
and with good
So
intentions.
What do you mean by implemented well? Coming to the implementation point, how do you think that it should be, according to you, what would be an ideal implementation?
Okay, so I think I'll just give one or two short lines of context before this, because this is not the first education policy. This is not constitutionally binding. It's not an act. It's not a bill that's about to be passed. So what happens here is that there have been policies made by the Kothari Commission in the 1960s, by other people later on, and even by Dr. Kasturi last year. She's a famous
Hmm.
civil servant.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is these educational policies seem brilliant. They seem like they're made to create the next generation of Indians, and it is also sold and marketed in that way. But as
Yeah.
we have seen in all Indian governments and in Indian systems, there's a lot of inertia in implementation,
Hmm.
and there is
Yeah.
also the ugly tooth of corruption to some extent. So I think these two things have a large ability, sadly, to hamper a lot of the policies that this NEP talks about. This NEP is pretty good on paper. It's almost too good to be true on paper. But one of the easiest examples would be, will for a lot of Indians, education is a return on investment scenario. You invest time and money, and you
Exactly.
hope to get some good
Exactly.
return into it. Either you want to
Exactly.
progress in society, you want to get a good job, and it's fair to think that way. It's not unfair. It's okay to think that way, because for a lot of people, education is an empowering tool. So for these people, I'm not sure how much of an incentive they will have to choose an extra subject like music along with physics, chemistry, maths if they want to make a future in engineering, which is socially
Hmm.
considered one of the stable employment streams. So that is
True.
a problem there. I think we have to go a long way in changing the way people approach these changes. So
Hmm.
if implementation has to be good, it has to go with there has to be accountability on every level. Accountability of the teachers to the school governing bodies, accountability of the governing bodies to the students and their
Hmm.
parents, and
Exactly.
accountability of
True.
these government schemes. Government schemes are rolled out throughout the country. Are we seeing
Yeah.
if there are these schools are being set up with proper facilities? Everybody talks
Mm,
about increasing right to education, making education compulsory from the age of 3 to 18. But
mm.
if you cannot maintain this, you will have to dilute the quality of schools. That is bad. So as long as these things are taken care of, I think this can be a very good policy.
I hope that this education policy is implemented in a way that it leads to a better India, and hopefully we can see India as a superpower one day. So that is it, guys, for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and do let me know in the comment section that what do you think about this education policy? Is it good? Is it bad? Why is it good? And how it should be implemented? Thank you, Digvijay, for joining in the podcast. It was lovely to have you, and see you next time. And please do like, share, and comment. Yeah, matlab, that's the drill. You know that. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you.